Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Long time no see. I know I filmed this exact video about 2 months ago, but I'm refilming it now because I sounded so angry and I was in the midst of the stress, and I just decided that it's not fair representation of our clinical time in Boston University, so I decided to refilm it. I feel like today I have a more clear head and a better position to discuss of my actual clinical experience in Boston University. So as you could probably understand from this intro, I'm going to talk about my clinical time. We started clinics. So I see patients now. I started a while ago, so it's been about 3 or 4 months. I started in June and now it's October. So yeah. So I'm kind of out of the woods with the difficulty and just the stress of it being a new thing and adapting. I feel like I'm in the hang of things now, so I can fairly talk about what the experience of clinics in Boston University is like. And yes, I was really stressed this past month. You probably noticed that I haven't been on social media a lot or haven't made any videos. This is the first one in a long time. And I haven't been on answering emails or Instagram messages for a while because I just didn't have time. And after watching this video, you will understand why. So basically, as a general picture of what I'm going through right now, nothing changed. Nothing changed since last year. I still have my lectures, I still have my classes and exams that are every week now. We have exam every week again. But plus to that, we have patients that take majority of my time of a day. I have patients from 7 to 7, I'm in school. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I don't have time to study, to do anything that is personally related to me, housework, family, answering messages on Instagram. I just physically don't have time for that. 24 hours in a day is not enough to do that. So nothing changed as of a workload of a previous year, but we added the stuff with the patients, which is a physical time you're with the patient in a clinic. Plus you have a lab work that you all do by yourself, but you know, that's how just dental school is. Plus you have all the administrative hoops that you have to jump through, like getting signatures, chasing the faculty members so they would look in and quality check and approve whatever you do. So that is just a separate full-time job. So for my part-time job, which is YouTube and which is just messages and checking personal statements, that's been kind of shoved to the background. So let me just talk particularly in more specific terms of how my clinics was. We started clinics in June. We were supposed to start clinic July 1st after our white coat ceremony, which was scheduled for July 1st, and we were supposed to start whenever after that. So we all had plans for that. I had a vacation booked, and basically one day we received an email from school which literally said, suddenly the school decided to start us in clinics early because the class before us graduated early, and the clinic was in less than 50% capacity, so they needed new students to come in early. We were not prepared for that. They kind of said, well, we never told you for sure that you were gonna start. The white coat ceremony is just kind of a, symbolic procedure of starting clinics. It's not guaranteed that you were supposed to start clinics July 1st, but we didn't know that. We had an understanding and nobody explained it to us closely. So we were really stressed about that because many people have plans. I had plans for a vacation. I was going to be out of the country for 2 weeks. Many people had kids and they had babysitters and family members coming to take care of them because clinics is a much longer commitment, as you can see from me being completely stressed right now. We started June 16th instead of July 1st. So before the clinic started, we had some educational things and how clinics works. We had lectures and classes on that. We have introductions and orientations. So the school did something. Back in my previous video that I filmed 2 months ago, I was so angry at them not teaching us anything because, well, practically they didn't. But I now recognize the effort, and now I see that it's actually much more difficult to implicate than just saying, why didn't you teach us anything? Because they couldn't. That is, let me explain closely. So we had an orientation session back in February. Why in February? Why, or maybe not in February, but sometime in winter. We had the Salute training, and Salute is our electronic charting system where we put all the records of the patient in the computer, and it's a big beast. It's an issue because majority of the time of our clinical time, of the chair time, when the patient is sitting in a chair, we spend with the computer trying to type the note and get approval and signatures and everything. So that's a big part of your clinical treatment of a patient, and they, for some reason, decided to have an orientation session in winter for that, which we completely forgot by the summer. So they showed us the Salute, They had another one in May, which was like a month before clinic started, but the point of it was that this is the salute, this is the system, let's create your ID and the password and everything. This is the patient's chart, this is how you open it, this is how you sign the consent form. That's it. They never taught us what to actually write in the notes, where those notes are, which procedures, what do we have to describe for each procedure. And I was very angry about that back in June, but now I kind of understand, well, it's impossible to teach you everything. For each procedure, you kind of have to learn on the go. You have to figure it out on your own. But do I really? Because when I first had my patient, I had to know all that. I have a patient, I have to put the information in the charging system, but I don't know, I physically had no idea what to do. So I feel like having an assisting session would solve it. If we could assist the students like a month before we entered clinics and kind of watch what they do, that would help tremendously. And it's not that it was COVID and that's why we couldn't come to clinics, but they never have that. They never have students assist upperclassmen before they start clinics. They just kind of throw everybody into this. So we brought this up to our dean meeting and said, why don't we have students assist? And they basically came up with a whole bunch of excuses that it's not feasible, it's impossible to do, or something. I don't know. But anyway, this is always going to be like this. This is not just us, and it's not COVID to blame. It's always, they never have students fully prepared for clinics. Every time students enter clinics, it's completely out of the blue. It's really difficult. So blame a school or not, it is a hard thing to do. It's a huge school. There are a ton of students, plus COVID, plus everything. So blame whoever you want. We were completely unprepared. And when I entered clinics, I was shocked. I was depressed. Like, I was physically depressed. I was crying on my drive home. I remember just driving home and just tears rolling down my face because I was exhausted. It's overwhelming. It's not just your responsibility. It's not like it's an exam and you study for it and you learn and you're stressed because you have this responsibility. Here, you don't know anything. You had no information. You had nowhere to get it from. You had no possibility of possibly prepare for it. You have a patient who you're responsible for. It's a person. He's expecting you to take care of him for a procedure that you fairly have never done before. So that adds stress. Somebody checks on you, and some faculty is better than the other. Some are really helpful, some are not helpful at all, and just add stress. Some people just come and say, look at your charting, don't look at the patient until you just fix it. Fix what? Just point to something that I need to fix. So when it was just the beginning, it was overwhelming. It was completely stressful, and you probably would notice that I just disappeared from social media for that period of time. So that's what I was going through. Now I kind of want to talk more specifically about how the system operates in Boston University. So a lot of schools have this kind of like a group practice model. Oklahoma had one, which they called vertical teams. In BU, they call it group practice model. It's a little different from Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, they had, as much as I understand, I wasn't in clinics in Oklahoma, but what they had explained to us when I was there, that you have an upperclassman, and like a fourth year, third year, and a second year, all taking care of one patient. And that's why it's vertical. So it's like going up second, third, and fourth year. All of the students have different area of expertise, and if it's more difficult procedure, it goes to the upperclassmen. It's a less difficult procedure, it goes to a lowerclassman. That was Oklahoma system. In Boston University system is completely different. So you basically have a group of people from different classes. So the second years don't have clinical privileges, so third and fourth year plus advanced standing, so 3 classes, taking care of different patients. For some reason, they're just all grouped together. It's like a group, and if you were in Eastern Europe and you had groups, and you went to college in in Eastern Europe or anywhere in Europe, and you were not in a class in a big lecture hall, but you had smaller groups for your lectures. We had 30 people for our group. Pretty much the same thing. Here, so we're just a group of people. We all have different patients. All of us have different patients. Patients are generally assigned to group practice. I'm in group practice 8. So I have a pool of patients that's assigned to our group practice, and then we have 2 supervisors who are called group practice leaders, and they assign those patients to each student judging by what they need to graduate. We have a requirement sheet that we need to complete, and the GPLs, or the group practice leaders, see what this particular student needs, and they assign a patient based on the need of the student. That's how it works. But the point with that is, we didn't know that when we started clinics. So it's not that we didn't know that, but we didn't particularly had any explanation of the system operations at all. So when we started, I looked at my computer, and you can see the pool of patients that technically are assigned to you, but I didn't know that. So before we started clinics, I would open up my student dashboard, whatever. I would see patients. So I see them seen by other students, which now I know it was because they're in the group practice. So back then I thought, okay, these patients are in this group practice, so they're not mine. So I saw them adding up, like 2, then 5, then 11, then 20. I was like, okay, so that's group practice patients. But then all of a sudden they told us, oh, no, they're not group practice patients. Those are your patients. Those are yours. You have responsibility for those people. And I was like, okay, I have 22 patients. Good to know. So basically they didn't explain it to us, and all of a sudden, basically in an hour, I realized I had 22 people to take care of. And how we take care of the patients, nobody contacts the patients until you contact this patient, until you tell the front desk, I need you to call this patient and schedule an appointment for him because he's due for cleaning, or he needs this and that. So you are responsible for requesting your patients. And when you have 22 of them and you started clinics a week ago, you need to go through the full charting of history of this patient, realize what the previous student had done to him, what is the next thing he needs to do, and when his recall is due, and recall him when he needs to come back. So that was kind of a lot. But my first patient, when you see a patient is scheduled for your schedule, you don't know what he's scheduled for. Usually it just says office visit for observation, and you just kind of have to guess. And that was my first patient. When I started, my first patient just came in, and I read all the chart, of course, like a good student. I knew everything that was done to the patient and what needed to be done by me. So patient completed the treatment. So I figured that he's coming for a new treatment, because he needed a denture. He had a provisional, he needs a new denture done, but that's not what the patient came for. So I did a whole procedure that was not necessary, and I didn't know that it's not what I had to do. So my first appointment, A, just having this long procedure that didn't need to be done, B, just having another procedure that patient actually came for. She came for denture adjustment, and I only realized that after. Thank God the student who was treating this patient before was in the next bay, so she could come and jump in and help me out, because it was insane. It was just, even remembering that, oh my God, I have this patient, the same patient who is going through treatment now, coming on Monday, and I just even though I know what I'm doing now, I still don't want to see her because I associate her with this stress of having her as my first patient and having no idea what to do. So yeah, that was kind of, I fell on my face in the clinics pretty much. It's just, I fell out to the clinics and I felt like I was wrapped up in a hurricane, and it was really hard to get used to and learn all this, not even related to patient care. Like, I'm really good with my procedures. I have really good hand skills by now, especially. Everything works out well, but it's just this administrative things that could have been straightened out by just explanation. It just caused me so much stress. But anyway, I used to be very angry by that, but now I kind of understand that it's a problem of a large school. If it's a smaller school, they had more time and more attention to each student, but in a larger school, it's impossible. In a larger school, you're kind of on your own. So that is what you sacrifice by going to a big school, and that I realize that, and I'm okay with that. So now I just want to talk about my day and how does this clinic work. So basically, we have 3 sessions per day. Every session is 3 hours. So you technically are only capable of seeing 3 patients a day. There's a morning session at 8:30, there's an afternoon session at 12:30, and there's an evening session at 4 o'clock. So we always have classes because we're advanced standing and we kind of have to complete all our requirements and graduate. the same amount of requirements as DMDs, but we have just 1 year to complete it instead of 2 that the DMDs have. But for some reason, we have classes as well. But anyway, that's just a problem of advanced standing program. It's not a problem of the school, it's just we need to do it much faster. So our load is much more difficult. So we still have classes. We have lectures at 12 o'clock, at 12:30, whatever, at 1 o'clock. But second session is always blocked for us for the lectures. So we only see patients at 8:30 and at 4 o'clock. So I have to be in school at around 7:30 to prepare, and I will tell you why later. But I wake up at about 5 a.m. because I have pets that I need to walk and feed, and a husband and breakfast to cook, and just I live really far away. It's a rush hour, so I'm always in traffic for an hour, always. So it just takes me an hour to drive there, so I need to leave my house at 6:30 and just, you know, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm already late. I wake up and I rush because I'm already on time, and it's my principle. I'm not waking up any earlier than 5 a.m. So that's kind of difficult to just wake up and be in stress already because you're already late. So I arrive to school at 7:30 and I stay in school. My patient leaves at 7 o'clock. You really take all those 3 hours for the appointment, even if it's a simple filling, because everything needs to be checked by an instructor and you're looking for that instructor on the floor constantly. Everything does take that long. So I finish at 7 o'clock with my patient. It takes me about an hour or like 40 minutes to clean because the sterilization system in Boston University is insane. It's just bizarre, which I explain also later. But it takes me a long time to clean up after the patient and just finish my note and everything. So I leave at about 8, and thank God there's no traffic by that time. So I arrive home at like 8:30, something like that, and I just crash. I just fall asleep. I just can't. I just fall right asleep. Plus to that, we do have exams every single week. We have an exam on Tuesday. We had a previous exam on Thursday. So you have to study for those exams. They're not easy exams. I don't have time for that. 24 hours in a day is not enough. Plus, I have to do my, answer your messages, so please don't get angry with me if I don't answer your messages. I usually answer my messages on the lecture, and if it's an important lecture and I have to listen, that kind of interferes with that, so I take a little while to answer messages. Please don't be angry with me. I try to answer all of them. I feel like it's important to mention the labs and the sterilization process in Boston University because it's something special. I don't know who came up with it, but it seems like a drunk child came up with that. But sterilization it's unnecessarily complicated. So let me just give you an example. We're a huge school, so we have to have a lot of things sterilized, and we don't have any computerized system to track sterilization, which is insane to me because in Oklahoma, again, I always refer to Oklahoma, and my classmates are mad at me for always mentioning Oklahoma, but when you have something to compare to, you do it automatically. It makes sense to compare to something that you have seen before. And comparing to Oklahoma, they had barcodes on cassettes, so they would scan the barcode, and everybody in school in the computer system knows that this thing has been checked out and then received back into sterilization. In Boston University, we don't have any barcodes. Everything is handwritten, so you can imagine how long it takes for them to track everything that's signed out and signed in by each student. So the line in the window in sterilization takes about half an hour every day in the morning before every session, because they have like this ginormous books where you sign your name, sign your bay, sign like a handpiece and a serial number of a handpiece, and they have this just giant books. It feels like we're in like the 80s or something. They still use the system. It's unnecessarily complicated. I don't even understand how they understand which bay needs what. It's all handwritten. None of that is computerized, which is kind of insane. So let me just give you an example of how we sterilize like a handpiece, for example, right? To sterilize your own handpiece that you have bought, you have to put a handpiece in a pouch, put a pouch in another pouch, write your name with a Sharpie on top of the pouch, write the date, the floor, and the serial number of your handpiece, seal that pouch, take another pouch, put another pouch in that pouch, write everything you wrote on the previous pouch on this pouch, take a piece of paper, write everything on the piece of paper that you put on this first pouch on that piece of paper, rip this paper in half, put one half of paper into the pouch, put them together, throw them into the sterilization box, keep the paper. This is the paper that is for sterilization. You keep it. If you lose it, you're screwed. So you keep all this. I have many, I have multiple. I have like there. You keep all this paper. Those are your instruments in sterilization. You need this for return. This is like your receipt. And then you give it to them in sterilization in the morning and they run around and try to find it. Why? It's okay. All right. I'm not gonna complain. I'm just not gonna complain. I feel like this entire video I'm just complaining. I'm not gonna complain. It's your system. I'm gonna be out of here in a year. Would it be easier if you just bought one computer or two computers, one for sterilization, one for upstairs, and a barcode scanner? Would it be easier? Probably. Probably. But all this causes large problems for us concerning patient treatment because we only have one handpiece, the one that you bought in your kit. So you use it. And it takes them a whole day to sterilize it. If you used it in first session, it will not be ready by your second session or your third session. Forget about it. It will not be ready. You're lucky if it's going to be ready by the next morning. But you still have patients. If you have a filling or a crown, majority of the time you do need your handpiece. And they do have loaner slow speeds, but they do not have loaner high speeds. Why? I don't know. They just don't. They don't. If you don't have a handpiece, you have to call your patient and cancel because what are you gonna do? You can't scratch the cavity out with your fingers. So what do you have to do? You have to either cancel the patient or use an old, don't sterilize your handpiece and just wipe it. And that is not a good practice. That's kind of dangerous. And if you get caught, you can get expelled. That's not a good practice. So thank God I don't have to do that. I have another handpiece from Oklahoma. From a kit there, and it matches our systems here. It's a different handpiece, but it matches and works. So I don't have to do that. I always have one handpiece in sterilization and one handpiece on me, thank God. But we brought this issue up to our instructors and they basically said, well, why don't you buy your own handpiece? And we were like, excuse me, we're paying tuition for this school and handpieces are expensive as hell. Even the terrible ones that we buy on eBay are quite expensive and they break the next day. So I don't want to buy my own instruments. I want you to give me the instruments. So that's an issue too. And another kind of problem is labs because we only have, until like recently, until last month, we had just one lab for the entire school and it's a tiny little room. It's teeny tiny. So whenever you come, there's no place to sit. There's just no room. There may be 5 or 6 spots for a school of like 700 students. One lab. There's one model trimmer for all of us. Can you imagine? In Oklahoma, we had a lab on every floor and a student like wet lab in the SLC and like the preclinical lab, and there were always model trimmers. There were like a ton of them. We never thought it was an issue. We have one model trimmer for the entire school. Now thank God we opened a second lab and there's another model trimmer that for some reason is always broken. I know these are a lot of tiny little things and the kind of problems that I complain about. I have more, which I'm not gonna bother you now, but you can just see how stressful it is, how unnecessarily complicated it is. So I don't wanna complain about Boston University. I'm sure every school has this problem, but I do wanna film a video about that so when you enter the clinics, in whatever school you are, you don't need to be in Boston University, I'm sure you'll encounter something this stupid somewhere else. And I kind of want you to know that. So I don't even need to talk about patient care and how that goes. It goes well. Everybody's helpful. They're teaching, I learn, but it's not what I worry about. I don't worry about that my filling is not going to turn out good, that my crown is not going to fit. I worry about the things that I will not have a handpiece in the morning. That is how my days are going so far. And I kind of started filming very short vlog style videos. I don't know if I'm gonna post them. I just filmed them like in my car when I talk about whatever happened during the day. 'Cause they're kind of rambly like that about the loss of handpiece or, you know, none of that is about patient information, just like what's going on. I think I'm gonna post them because I don't have anything else to tell you. So just to keep up the channel, I'm gonna post those things. If you wanna see more closely what my life in clinics is like, stay tuned for those. I am actually going to try and find time to edit and post them. So I hope that works out well. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope all of your application processes are going good because I'm receiving a lot of messages from you whenever you start. I probably know everybody in the interview in OU. Everybody who's going to Oklahoma for an interview have emailed me and said, hey, I'm going to Oklahoma. So I'm very excited for you guys. I'm always really happy to see those messages. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you find whatever I do here helpful. I'm very happy that it helps you sometimes. So I feel tired. I feel like my energy is lower than usual. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but it's just the general feeling of tiredness. Oh, I have CDCA soon, so I'm gonna film a video about that. I have videos coming on that too if you're interested. But that is additional stress, so I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm not myself at the time. So let's see how that goes later. That is an adventure that never ends, the gift that keeps on giving. So stay tuned for more videos, I guess. So bye.